Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Carson Olinger. Carson Olinger is the managing partner at Capital City Equity Group, a real estate investing company that he founded in 2017. Welcome to the podcast, Carson.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yes. So just so people can get to know you, why don't you start by telling us your story, where you started out, where you grew up, how you got to where you are today.
Well, thanks, Kimberly. I appreciate the opportunity to come on your program. So a little bit about me. My name is Carson Olinger. I am the managing partner and founder of Capital City Equity Group here in Suwanee, Georgia. We are a real estate investing company. So what we try and do is bring real estate solutions to the average person who has a problem with their home typically. So what we're trying to do as an investor, what we really are, is trying to buy houses that has enough equity in it to where we can turn the property around and make a profit out of it. So I've always had a passion for this. And, Kimberly, you asked me how I got into this. So there's a long story. I'll consolidate that a little bit for the sake of our podcast. But I came out of the corporate world. I was in the corporate world for 20 plus years. I was a sales manager and managed about a $42 million territory from Texas to Boston and everything south of that. So I traveled pretty extensively. And as a new husband during that time, we had a young family. And as things grew, my wife was becoming more of a single mom because I was on the road quite often. And that life really wasn't what we were striving for. And as well paid as I was, and as much flexibility I had with vacations, I was gone, 120 nights a year traveling. And it got rather tiresome. I was watching my kids grow up just like this. I was like, hey, good night, boys, and saying good night to my wife on Skype at the time. So we prayed a lot. We're a Christian family, and we look to the Lord for a lot of our guidance because I am of the mentality that he gives me a lot of my gifts and talents, if not all of them. And he also provides me a lot of weaknesses. So he forces me to go out and seek people like you, Kimberly, and others out there that have strengths and gifts that I don't. And hopefully my gifts and strengths help those people as well. And we can create a network. But, fast forward, what we were looking to do was to be a little bit more autonomous and be a little bit more family centric. And getting off the road was a priority. So our prayer at the time was to be home and to be able to have our own family unit. And the Lord provided that in an opportunity to start my packaging business, which I did back in 2013 when I left my corporate job and started my packaging business, which in essence already existed with two other elderly partners. And I bought into the equation. And fast forward to today, I own the thing outright. But between the time I got into it in 2013 and probably late 2016, there was a serious declination in the amount of income that I could see this thing bringing. And not to say we made a mistake, but there were some bumps in the road that really the long-term future and viability of that really didn't fit into our financial equation. So instead of abandoning that because we put so much money into it, we went back to the drawing board and once again to prayer and said, hey, what can we do to keep this business running, yet still create more income so that I don't have to go back and travel again? So I couldn't ethically go and get a job with a normal company and travel and still try and run my business because I'd be taking, time away from that. And that's just not the ethical thing to do. So the corporate world was kind of out of it. And my wife came up with the idea. She goes, the Lord's been speaking to me. And she said, honestly, you need to look at real estate. You've always wanted to do this. It's been a passion of yours. And I said, really, I'm kind of scared. I was really scared of this whole process. And I didn't understand exactly what I needed to do, but I knew that I had the skill sets to do it. So we prayed and prayed and prayed about it. And we said, let's do this. And so with her encouragement, I jumped in, and with my background being in sales and marketing, I knew that I had to penetrate the market, make a splash, yet still build a network. So I attended a lot of RIA meetings, which a RIA meeting is Real Estate Investment Association. And it's just basically a bunch of like-minded individuals in the same vertical market. And we're all out trying to basically grow our business through networking. So I went to 3, 4, 5, 6 of these a week, to the point my wife's like, hey, take it easy. You know, the reason we did this is so that you could be home, and you're gone almost every night. I said, I know, but I'm putting in the time and the effort. It's going to pay off. And she saw the vision, and as tough as it was to communicate that at the time, she was behind me. And without her being there, I wouldn't be where I am today. And she's been paramount in what I've done. And I say I, but it's been us. I couldn't have done it without her. So fast forward to 2017, I'm now in the real estate business to some degree. I'm going to these networking meetings and I'm gathering all this information, and I'm like, I'm paralyzed with it. I'm like, what do I do? Because it's just like you're drinking from a fire hose. And luckily I have some friends that are already in the industry, and I was able to lean on them for some guidance and checks and balances, if you will, because I kind of had the right direction, but I just needed them to kind of pull the reins a little bit as a horse would. So I brought them in, and they kind of guided me in a couple of deals, and I got my first deal actually through our church. Interesting story there, but that's for another time. But we had a person that needed to move quickly, and we were able to buy their house subject to, and I wholesaled that off. So July, I think it was July 2017, I said, I'm doing this full time. So I approached a marketing company that could go out and run all of my software that I needed to run, which is websites and lead generation, everything like that, because my focus was to close deals. I didn't want to spend time looking for them. And I knew by talking to a lot of the people through these networks that finding the deal is really the key to the whole animal. If you can find a good motivated seller, then you're going to have a lot easier time, either with disposition through wholesaling or flipping the property yourself. But really the key to the whole animal, the horns, if you will, if you wanted to steer things, is finding the good deal. And so I was able to accomplish that through the company that I hired. They created my website, which was SEO. And for those that don't understand the term, it's search engine optimization. And we set up a pay-per-click or a PPC aspect of that through Google AdWords so that my ads would show up all over the internet. And it took off like that. I was getting leads in, and now I've got these leads. I'm like, what do I do? So through my network, which I knew was critical, I was able to move them. So I started wholesaling, and within weeks I was closing deals. It was really quite awesome. And you know, we thank the Lord for the opportunity He gave us, and always respected the fact that this was the path He put us on, and it's really created a lot of that financial freedom that we want now. So wholesaling on the front end was a means to an end. The larger scope was to flip and to buy and hold to create passive income, which now 2020, we're almost 3 years from when I started. We've transacted close to actually about 50 properties, and I flipped 12, 13, 11, something like that, properties already. I've got 2 or 3 that we're in process right now. We've got offers on the table and contracts in place for 2 or 3 others. I'm still wholesaling to generate the short-term income, flipping to create larger hits of income, and then we're building our retirement through cash flowing properties, for instance, rentals or what's the word I'm looking for? Notes, basically creating loans and things like that. So what we're ultimately trying to do here is create 4, 5, maybe 6 streams of income, so that COVID-19 hits and maybe there's not as much inventory, we can wholesale, or if the wholesale market takes a hit, we can flip and make some big hits of cash to stretch us through that desert, if you will. So that's really more or less my story, how I got into this and what I'm doing. And now I met you, Kimberly, at the RIA that I created with a partner of mine back in March of 2019. So we're a year old now. So now we're networking up in Gainesville where there wasn't one, and meeting awesome people like yourself.
Yes, thank you. And so with all this going on, with people staying home, there's still people moving, and there's some people staying who wouldn't have moved. How is that affecting what you do? Is it affecting what you're doing?
Well, that's a great question. And it's actually the $1 million question right now. It's like, should we do anything in real estate? Are we paralyzed? Or are we going to be sitting tight and let's not do anything and find out what happened, or continue moving the way we're doing, or something in between? So I'm of the mindset that everything's a hurdle. And you're going to have one hurdle versus another. But I'm not going to go into something as big as this without really kind of looking at it. So once again, the network is awesome. I use a phrase all the time: your network equals your net worth. And I think that's not something I coined, but I use it quite often. And there's a lot of validity in that. And what I mean by that is I've gone to some people that know more than I do, because I like to surround myself with people that know more than I do, because I can continually learn. And I listen to what they say, and I listen to these guys, and I kind of put the whole thing together, combined with the news and the market reports, and try and do the best I can to discern what's going to happen. The reality is there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. But there's a lot of benchmarks you can point to and say, well, this is happening and this is happening. And honestly, right now, I think today's what, May 7th? So I think the end of July, middle of August, we're going to see a significant downturn, because all this PPP money and the unemployment checks are going to run out, and people are going to have this glut. And if they're not already back to work, those that haven't gotten back to work, they're going to experience a declination in their lifestyle, and we're going to have a flood of houses coming in. So ultimately what I think is going to happen is, in the Atlanta market anyway, 285, 275 is kind of the price point I see it at. Anything below that's going to still move, because that's kind of the thick of the market, right? You've got a larger, broader base of buyers and sellers in that area, as opposed to a $600,000 house at the top of that pyramid, right? So people that are in financial trouble, I think they're going to divest out of their homes, maybe pull that equity out through selling it, which is inventory. But those are going to go to other people, maybe not an investor, the everyday investor, might be a higher end investor, but they're going to buy homes in that 285 range and lower, where it's easily manageable. You know, one person lost a job at the home and the other person has a job, so now they can afford it. They put some cash in their pocket. They're going to kind of downsize maybe before they want it to. So I see a lot of opportunity for selling at that market, but you got to sell something, so you have to have it, right? So I see a lot of people going to be going through divorces. Sorry to say, we're all home, and a lot of people aren't used to being home. So there's some frictions there, and I think we're going to see a higher divorce rate on the back end of this, which will create more inventory as well. I hate to say that. You never want to see a marriage break up, but we're talking realities here. So I think we're going to see more properties come into the marketplace through there. Not to say that's going to be the only marker. We're also dealing with a lot of forbearance right now. A lot of people don't understand forbearance. They think, hey, the bank's just going to let me not pay my mortgage for 4 months. Well, it's not that they don't let you pay it for 4 months. That is correct, but that money comes due. And a lot of people think they're just going to push it off. Okay, you had a 30-year mortgage, and now it's 30 years and 4 months. No, it's not. It's going to be, hey, you missed 4 months of $1,000 a month. It's month 5. We want $5,000 from you now. And they're going to be like, I don't have this. And that's going to create problems. So on the back end of this, even though they're not having foreclosures now, we're going to have a lot more foreclosures later, which is then going to open up the subject to market. We can come in and possibly pick up some properties subject to the existing mortgage. In essence, basically assuming the mortgage really is what it really means. And then a lot of people are just going to be dumping their homes where they can't afford to fix them up, because once again, they don't have access to the home equity lines, which have dried up. So I think for our business, you can look at it from 2 different lenses. You can look at it from a conservative perspective and say, we have to hold tight, or you can look at it and say, hey, the tide is out. Who's wearing clothes? That's a Warren Buffett quote. So, when the tide goes out, you can see who's wearing bathing suits, right? So if you're prepared, it's a good buying opportunity, I think, to get rental properties and things like that for the long-term play, because you're going to be able to get them at a lower price point.
Right. And that was actually my next question. What about investing in rentals right now? Are a lot of people going to be displaced, and will they be now renting?
From a homeowner perspective, I think you're going to see a little more of that. Yes, I think because of the foreclosure market, the forbearance issues that are going to lead to that, you're going to see some people getting out of home ownership because maybe they just don't want the volatility. They don't want to be worried about their house declining in price like it did in 07 and 08, creating that glut where we had a $300,000 home and 2 weeks later it was, a $250,000 home. So now that was a totally different situation. I'm not comparing the two equally, but what we're going to have here, I think in 6 to 9 months, maybe a year, is that glut of inventory. So renting is going to be something that's going to always be available. People are going to be looking for those. But in order to provide that housing, you need to be able to buy that housing at a reduced rate, because ultimately, if you're buying for cash, you need to refinance that out. So you need to understand how the banks are thinking. The banks may look at that house today, pre-COVID, and say 200,000. But yet tomorrow they're going to say, hey, COVID hit, that house conservatively is only 175. It's an arbitrary number, but the fact of the matter is it might not appraise for that. So if you paid all this money for it and you have to refinance to get your capital out, which is how I operate, now you got to look at the loan to value ratios. A lot of the banks are scaling those back. So a bank that might have typically lent at 75 to 80% loan to value on a refinance might now be doing only 70 to 75%. So with the ARVs, or after rehab value, or appraisals coming down slightly just because of banks being conservative, and the fact that they're not lending as much on the refi, you've got to create a larger spread on the acquisition to ensure that you don't get caught in that in-between space. So if you can do that, then I think you're in an excellent position to be buying rental properties for the long term. And our company's set up to do that because we focus on motivation. We're focused on motivated sellers that have some reason, usually financial, that they need to get out of it. So in essence, they're leaving a little bit of money on the table, but we're providing a solution for their immediate need, where if we didn't, they might otherwise be in a significantly worse situation. A lot of people look at that and they go, oh, wow, you're taking advantage of these people. And I guess if you have a single mindset like that, you can make that argument. But if you're looking at the broader picture, we're really creating them a solution. We've saved people from going to foreclosure. And if you think about what that really means, they lose everything and they're out. We'll come in, we'll give them $5,000, $10,000 in cash and take over their house, and they don't have the foreclosure. They've got money in their pocket. They still have to leave the home, but they've got something to start with, and we help rebuild their credit. So there's a lot of positives to that too. But ultimately, they're going to be wound up at the end of that foreclosure with nothing. And so to have something is a little bit better scenario that they can control, and we provide those solutions. So we're going to take that creative strategy and put that into the rental market as well. So I think, to answer your question, Kimberly, I think the rental market's going to be rather strong, probably starting in August. Kids go back to school and PPP money runs out, and all the other government funding runs out. People are going to be looking to things going, wow, I'm not in a good position. I've got to cash out.
Thank you for that, because I think so many people are asking those questions to themselves, whether they're homeowners or they're in real estate. They're asking, what should I do? Should I move? Should I stay? So that was really helpful.
Yeah. And I'd say that that's individual. I mean, I'm by no means an expert. I mean, I'm using my own opinion and what I understand in our industry here locally. And you could probably make a different argument in San Francisco or a different one in a different city. But for the Atlanta metro market, I think that kind of encapsulates that. You can make an argument just the opposite of that, I think, and create a strong argument for that. But ultimately, in my opinion, I'm assertive. I move forward. I don't let things hold me back. I do that in a tempered manner. I evaluate things, and in my evaluation, I think we're going to be okay in the long term. In the short term, there's going to be some people falling through the cracks, and hopefully my company can provide them a solution for that in the interim. But overall, I think the rental market's going to be strong for anybody that's smart enough to get into it.
Wonderful. So you mentioned more than once your Christian faith. You want to talk a little bit about your journey with that?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that. I appreciate that because it's become more and more important to me and my family than it had been, say, when I was in college, right? Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a Christian household. My parents they were Catholic at the time, but we switched over to the Methodist when I was a kid, and we went to church regularly and all that stuff. But when I got into middle school, junior high school, my parents stopped going. I kept going because they told me to. I wanted to go play, right? But ultimately, my journey in understanding who the Lord was and accepting Him as my Savior was a little bit strained because I didn't have as much guidance as I needed from my home. But not to say my parents didn't believe, they did. It's just they had a different perspective from the way they grew up. And I respect that. but it was really getting through college and still believing, but not really practicing and not really having the Lord as my guide, that I realized later on in life that I was just kind of missing something. There wasn't anything greater than me in the universe, right? It was just, what do I want to do? Where am I going to go? This is right, this is wrong, because I say so, within reason. Obviously, there's laws and morality, but ultimately the Lord wasn't in his place in my life that he is now. And once again, I married my wife, and she is, very close to the Lord, and she rubbed off on me in a good way. The Lord put her in my life to make my life better, and I'm a better man and person because of it. And through that process, we started going to church again, or I did anyway. She had always gone, and we went together. And as a Methodist, we baptize as a baby, so they sprinkle the water on your head as a baby, but it's more symbolic than anything else. So as an adult, or even, I guess most people do this when they're, in their teenage years, because they're cognizant of what it really means. I was able to go and get baptized. And that was quite an interesting experience for me, because at that point in my life, I said, well, I've already been baptized as a child. Why do I need to do this again? I don't consider myself Baptist, but I consider myself a Christian. But I love the church that I go to and the fellowship that we have. And I was able to go forward and make a profession of faith to the people that were around me and say, hey, I'm accepting the Lord as my Savior, and he's the guiding purpose in my life. And ever since doing that, it's amazing to me, and I shouldn't even say amazing. I should have known this, but it was just hard to see. The Lord provides in every way, shape, and form. I mean, we may not see it because we don't understand what the ultimate plan is, and we want to do this, and he gives us that. And a perfect example of that is when we started, when I left the corporate world. Our prayer was, we want to be home. He presented us that opportunity with that company, and we were thankful for that at the moment. At the time, we were like, he provided us this opportunity, so now we can be home. Well, the company financially declined, and we're sitting there thinking, why would the Lord do this to us? Why would he put us in this position, and now we're struggling to make ends meet? And we sat down, my wife and I, and we talked about that. And I said, if you really think about what our prayer was that we would be home together, and he provided that to us. And now we didn't see the bigger picture. The picture we wanted to see was, hey, we're going to stay home and make $5 million. Boom. That's not what our prayer was, right?
Right.
He gave us what we wanted. And now he put us in this position to say, okay, you've got what you wanted now. I'm going to walk you down this path. And by the decline in that business, which that business is still viable, it's just not going to sustain us. It forced me to look elsewhere and pray once again. And he led us to the real estate side of it, which is a passion. And I don't even work. I'm not working now. I love what I do. I'm having fun. And my father always told me that. He says, if you find something you love doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And yes, I'm working and I'm providing an income for my family. And my wife stays home now and homeschools, which she's always wanted to do. And I feel blessed that I'm able to provide that for her and my family. And I have fun doing what I'm doing, because it's not just financial security. I love helping other people, whether it be teaching other people how to do real estate. And I've only been doing this 3 years, so I've got a very limited amount of knowledge, but I know more than some, and there's a lot that know more than me. Once again, I surround myself with people that know more than I do. But because of the recent success I've had, people have gravitated to me to some degree. And to try and be humble, the Lord gave me these gifts. I want to help other people do that. And so I'm helping them do that. And by the same course, other people are helping me do what I need to do. So it's just all a trickle-down theory. And if you look at it from a church perspective, that's just fellowship. And as long as we can all gain from that, and Kimberly, you've got weaknesses. I've got strengths. Maybe mine help you, and I've got weaknesses. And Kimberly, maybe your strengths will help me. So by meeting together with people, I find that's passionate. I love that aspect of it, because everyone has a story to tell, and everyone has their own experiences. And it's refreshing to see when you help somebody, how much they appreciate it. And when people give me information that helps me, and I show them I'm appreciative, it kind of makes a light in their eye too. So that's kind of my journey. And I just don't ever want to forget how I got here. And we pray every day, and we try and teach our children that what we have is really a gift from the Lord and everything we have. And I live my life that way. And I could go on and on and on about that, but that basically sums it up. And I just love what I do now because what he provided to us. So hopefully that conveys at least my passion for, Jesus being my savior and what he's done for us.
Yeah, I can feel the passion. I feel the passion coming from you.
Yeah.
And before we got on the podcast, we were talking about Cub Scouts. So
Yes.
this is giving you a chance to do things with your kids. And you want to talk about that or how that fits into your life or how that works with everything?
Absolutely. It's a big part of my life. So in high school and elementary school, I was in Cub Scouts and Webelos and Boy Scouts. So I went all the way through. I'm an Eagle Scout. So once an Eagle Scout's like a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. But once an Eagle, you're always an Eagle. And that's the highest rank you can attain within Boy Scouts. And I actually interviewed right out of college. I went to the University of Tennessee, and one of the jobs I applied for and actually got, but turned down, was to go to work for the Boy Scouts of America. It was not a sustainable income at the time for me, but I had a passion to want to help other boys in this because it lent so much to me, gave me a well-rounded education outside of school of just life skills and opportunities to lead, opportunities to teach, opportunities to learn, just outside of normal book learning, right? Mm-hmm. So fast forward into my adult life, I now have 2 young boys who are now 14 and almost 10. And I wanted to get them into Scouts as well as athletics, soccer and baseball and other stuff. And so we tried to bring all that together, but we put a lot of importance on Boy Scouts because of what I did, more than likely. But I'm so happy they loved it because we go camping, we're outdoors. We do not own a video game in this house. There's no Ataris or Xboxes or anything like that. We go out and play. We could do a lot of kayaking and canoeing and fishing and camping. My wife, God bless her soul, she loves to do that too, which is great. So she's not afraid of the little bugs here and there, even though I have to kill them. She's handling it, and she does great. So we bought a camper, and we go camping now frequently with this job. Our career affords us the time to do that. But as a result of being in Scouts, my kids being in Scouts, I wanted to help with those programs. It's a volunteer organization. So what I've done is got involved as an adult leader, and currently I am the Cub Master, which is the leader of the youth for the Cub Scouts, and I'm an assistant Scout Master, which is basically an assistant for the Boy Scouts. I got a younger one in Cub Scouts, an older one in Boy Scouts. And so with the freedom I have and the autonomy I have in my career, I'm able to go on a lot of those activities. So when they go off to camp and they need adult chaperones to be there for a week, I can go there because they've got internet access and I can work and I buy homes at summer camp. It's interesting. I mean, I can do everything virtually sometimes. So, and it gives me a lot of enjoyment to see these kids grow up. And it's not just so that I'm teaching my children, because in Scouts, it's really important to kind of cut the apron strings and say, okay, I'm your dad, but here I'm the Scout Master. So if you need help, you need to go to another adult leader, not your dad. And the reason for that is, I teach a certain way and they're used to me and there's a relationship obviously there, but they need to understand how to take direction and follow leadership from others outside of mom and dad, right? And it also provides them a platform to teach other Scouts, maybe younger than them, the skill sets they've already learned in Scouts. So it gives them the opportunities to learn, to teach, to grow, be leaders, and have speaking opportunities. I do a lot of speaking engagements, right? So I'm always talking in front of a camera or in a live audience, but it gives you that confidence because you might not get that in school, So it's just another platform, which I think a lot of leadership skills are brought out of there. Plus, with the merit badges and all the different interest groups within Scouting and the activities that are, out in the outdoors, it gives kids really an outlet to explore what their interests are. I mean, my son's taking welding at summer camp this year. He would never have that opportunity to do that. And it's not like he's going to be a welder when he gets out of Scouts. It's going to be a taste of it to see what he likes. And they're shooting guns and they're fishing and they're kayaking and they're learning life skills. And it's just fascinating. So I think it really broadens a child's career. And now, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Boy Scouts of America now allows girls into that program. They segregate them, boys and girls, at the sixth grade level and up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same program which teaches character and citizenship and faith, because everyone has different faith. It's not a Christian organization, but it does teach faith, that, hey, there is something out there stronger than and bigger than us, whether you're Christian or Hindu or Muslim or Jewish or whatever. So Boy Scouts does that, which I appreciate. So it allows you within your own religion to explore your religion through your family. So they give you the credentials and say, hey, this is what you need to do. Talk to your family and work it through your family. They're not trying to teach that. I don't want to go off on a tangent there, but it provides that. So it creates a well-rounded individual. And I feel it gave me a lot of those life skills. And so I want to pass that down as well.
Yeah, that is so wonderful that they have all those experiences, especially at young ages like that. Helps them kind of understand what they would like to do in life and figure it out maybe a little earlier.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, not only my children, but other children that we watch kind of come through the program and how they grow, because you see them at sixth grade and they're coming out of 12th grade. You see them turning into young men, right? And they're going off and getting their Eagle or going to college, getting their first jobs. But you see how, the little tyke who just hid in the corner, now he's the leader of, 50 Boy Scouts, and 2 years, 3 years later, and the confidence, it's fascinating to watch. And you see these kids, and some of them, some of these kids don't have an athletic composition. They're not going to be soccer players or baseball players. They're focused on something else. And Scouts gives them that opportunity. We've got our athletes. We've got guys in there that they come in, they play soccer or lacrosse or whatever, and they're strong on both, and they do both. And it's just interesting to see that the platform allows these kids to grow possibly in an area they might not have otherwise grown in, because it's giving them some construct in which to work within, challenges and awards that they can get. And I find that fascinating. And that program hasn't wavered in decades. And it's had its problems in the past, and those are being addressed, but those are gone. So it's a safe environment now, and I really feel comfortable with the people that are involved with it. So it's something that I keep close to my heart, and I have a lot of passion about too.
Yeah,
So,
I can feel that passion coming from you. So thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to go back to business again. So if people wanted to find you, let's say they have a property that they want you to look at, or they're interested in learning investing, what would they do?
Well, I have two websites. One is my buying website. So if you, Kimberly, wanted to sell your house and I wanted to buy your house, I call it my buying site, you could go to northatlantahomebuyer.com, and there's a contact page. You can fill out everything about your house, and it gives me your contact information, and I can give you a call. We can set up an appointment. It doesn't cost anything for me to go out there and take a look at the house. I look at it, basically do my inspection. I give you a written cash offer within 48 business hours, and we negotiate that out. And if we're happy with the numbers, we move forward, we buy from cash, and you're done. So there's no fees. I'm not a licensed real estate agent, so there's no commissions. We pay the closing costs. It's pretty much straight up and down. If you're an investor and you want to learn how to get into that, you can go through our contact page on my other site, which is capcityeg.com. So Capital City Equity Group, interestingly enough, the three main letters in there, cap of CCEG. My name's Carson, so capital, it's a C. My older son is Caden, Caden, that's the other C in city. My wife is Elizabeth, the E, and my younger son is Garrett, G. So I came up with the name from my sales and marketing background because it sounds like it's this massive company downtown or something, right? And the 65th floor of the John Hancock building,
Yes.
right? Well, we're in the capital city of Atlanta, and I always thought that if we could grow and go to other states, you could always be in whatever capital city, whether it's North Carolina or Florida or wherever, and just drop the skyline behind you, right? And now you've got your company. So that name came from there. But to reach out to me directly, you can reach me at info@capcityeg.com. And if you need to reach me, you can just go through my Facebook page, or you can even subscribe to my YouTube page and contact me through YouTube. All the information is there on my website at both northatlantahomebuyer.com and capcityeg.com.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I
And
appreciate the opportunity to come out. It's been awesome. And we have a lot of fun with it. Like I said, the RIA that I met you at, Kimberly, is North Lake RIA. We meet in Gainesville. Hopefully we'll get back to meeting again, right? Where we can actually
right.
do this in person. That's kind of the fun of it, the socialization and kind of exchanging ideas and having time to do that in a relaxed environment. We meet in Gainesville the last Wednesday of every month from 6:30 to 9:30. So if you're in that area or you're in any way, shape, or form involved in real estate, whether it's an agent, whether it's an investor or a lender or whatever, you can even be a home appraiser or whatever, an inspector, come on out. We've got walks of life going in there all over the place. You can network with others. And North Lake RIA is a great conduit. You can find North Lake RIA through my website as well. We've got a link there too at North Atlanta Homebuyer. So I do appreciate the opportunity, Kimberly. It's been a lot of fun. And I'd love to do a follow-up with one at another time if you want to do that.
That would be great. So before we get off, what is your best advice for living an incredible life?
Wow, I didn't see that one coming. Okay. For living an incredible life. Well, I would say in a nutshell, do something that you like to do, that challenges you, that you can use your gifts to help others, yet still be rewarded to take care of yourself and create ultimately autonomy. I know that's a little ambiguous. What does that really mean? Have fun doing what you're doing. Have an impact in other people's lives, not just your own. And if you can affect other people's lives positively, then it's going to come back to you in tenfold.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Carson.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yep. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Excellent. Thank you again. I appreciate it.